What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be changing out brake pads and wheel bearing hub assemblies on the Dodge Charger. So just going to start this off quick. Once again, always loosen up your lug nuts before you jack the vehicle up, and then go ahead and proceed to taking your lug nuts off. Okay, so here's what we're getting to here. Basically on these you can't pop off the cap and service bearings because it's all one unit. So it'll be the hub assembly with the studs all together. I'm going to be purchasing a new one, replacing that assembly, and I'm also going to be doing the brake pads on the front. Okay, first things first. I'm going to take off the whole caliper bracket and everything and change out the hub before I even work on the brakes, because this is the tougher job, so I'll get that done and then mess with those last. Man, it sure is nice to actually have an 18mm socket for this job. Go. Okay. Get those taken out. So these don't actually bolt on from the rear. This looks like a regular hub with a spindle and a big nut and everything. These bearings don't really look like they come out, so I got to figure out how to take that one off. The car basically probably just pops the cap off the outside here. Get that one off, but it's proving to be kind of difficult because it's like rubber. I'll try and get this cap off of here. Like I said, it's kind of a rubbery material, and I've tried prying it off with some actual cap pliers, but it don't seem to be working. So, you know, I don't want to use a hammer, but sometimes you have to. And it seems to be working. This is a brass hammer, and this thing, I don't know what the heck it is. Maybe somebody can tell me. Some old man tool. Come on, get off there. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Oh, who wants to take a guess at what size that nut is? Yeah, they don't sound bad, but they sound dry. That's for sure. Oh yeah, they're definitely dry. There's no grease on those at all. Let me show you. What are the odds of that? I literally just took this out of my socket drawer the other day because I got rid of my Volkswagen a couple years ago and have not used it since. What do you know about that? Now, that one is a 1/2-inch drive. Oh my god. Breaker bar. Hold on, I need an extension, so I don't hit the fender. Back y'all up. Hold on, let me make sure I'm going the right direction. Yep. There it goes. Nice. Guarantee there's torque on that. Oh, what am I doing? I have power tools. Here we go. Milwaukee to the rescue. Yeah. Nice. All right. God, what just happened? There it is. Fancy. And there's a little bit of play in that bearing. There's some grease in there. I don't know if y'all can see it, but it'll definitely be nice with the new bearings. I'm going to clean that all up. There's the ABS sensor, I believe. Yeah, right there. Yeah, works pretty good. I like this little brush. How many of y'all can tell me what that's for? Besides cleaning up my hubs, of course. Okay, now this is all pretty smooth, except for this edge right here. You can see there's some like kind of different shaped marks. This edge had a little bit of a, I don't know, burr on it, like something was maybe rubbing kind of weird on there. So this edge is definitely rough. Like I don't want to rub my finger all the way around it, probably get a sliver. So I'm gonna clean it up real good, throw some grease on it, and then slap that new hub back on there. Can't find my grease gun because I just moved. Oh, by the way, what you're seeing here, let me show you. See all this? This is the 5th, let me repeat that, the 5th place that I'm posting a video from this year, within the year, from September of last year. This is the 5th place that I've been posting a video from, because I keep having to move because of the hurricane and everything. Anyway, this is going to be our new house for the next, well, hopefully at least a year. So I can actually get my stuff settled in, and I have a cool 2-car garage. So anyway, like I said, I couldn't find my grease gun, so I just stole a little bit of grease from inside there. Sorry for the sirens in the background. There we go. That looks good. Ooh, yeah. Nice. Okay. Looks like they packed them really well. Put the nut back on. Like I said, I'm using this 36mm. This isn't exactly 36mm because it's a little loose. I'm thinking, I don't know how much, I mean it does lock on there, maybe a 35, but it's probably, heck, it could even be standard, and I don't know what the standard equivalent to that is. Come on! That's all she wrote with that one. Go ahead and tighten her up. Okay. This is a lock nut, so I'm not worried about it backing off. And I mean, it's a pretty positive lock, so yeah, there's no play in it. Alright, I'm going to call that one good. Time to jump on the brakes. Alright, well, got the hub back on there. Put the cap back on it. Didn't beat it up too much. And now I'm going to go ahead and jump on the brakes on this side since everything's back together. Put the caliper back on, or sorry, put the caliper bracket back on, bolted that on, and now I'm going to jump onto pulling the actual calipers off themselves. If you've already done brakes, if you're familiar with it, once again, this is just kind of repetitive. This is a 13mm on these. I think it's also a standard size. I couldn't tell you what it is off the top of my head, but I got my standard, I got my metric set out here right now. Let's see, that one should be about a 1/2 inch. Yep, 1/2 inch or 13mm. Some of the stuff is either one. Some of them is specific to a metric size. So, spin these 2 bolts off here on the back side. That one, and then this guy down here. And I'll be able to pull the caliper off. Alright, so got the pads off. This is the inside pad. Normally the inside pad wears more, as you can see, than the outside pad. Now to the average person, and to the average self-doer, this is quite a bit of meat left on these pads, and I agree. Now, my wife recently took this in for a few other issues, window motor or window regulator having problems. On the passenger side, window doesn't want to go all the way up all the time. Sometimes it gets stuck, sometimes, you know, it's kind of back and forth. It goes down by itself, you know, if you're playing with the button. So, when she took it in, they did kind of an overall look on everything. They said we needed new rotors, which I just put these on 6 months ago. They didn't say anything about the hubs. So the hub, you know, which, you know, whatever. And this was actually at the dealership. They said the pads needed done, and they said they had 4 millimeters left. Now, I don't know if that's 4 millimeters between the edge of the pad and the, I guess, wear indicator, or 4 millimeters left on the whole thing, but, you know, that's a good, I mean, it's a 1/4 inch of pad. How long does it take to wear that stuff down? I think this is only the second set of pads I've ever put on this car. 170,000 miles. I'll go ahead and put some new ones on. That's not a problem. They also said that the tires needed rotated. My daughter and I just rotated the tires less than a week ago. You know, I'm sure there's certain stuff, you know, air filter that they said needed replaced. There's certain stuff they just throw on there just for extra, few extra bucks, whatever the case may be. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and throw new pads on it. The pads that I got come with these new brackets. Now, if you've ever done these before, then you know, but if you've never done this before and you're using this as kind of a tutorial, once again, it's to claim no responsibility, but they have these little clips right here on the very edge. Point to it right there, that guy. Those actually keep the brake from sliding out. So if you're having trouble sliding the brakes out, you're going to have to push down that little tab, just top or bottom, it doesn't matter because they're on both, and it'll be able to slide that side out. This goes on the inside, and that actually pushes the pad away from the caliper so it doesn't always ride on the caliper, or sorry, on the rotor. So you want to make sure that these are all good and lubed so your brake can slide on here very well. So it'll basically ride against that one, and it'll ride against that also. So make sure you always keep those lubed up. Alright, here are my new parts and my old parts. As you can see, I think the inner and outer pads are pretty much reversible or interchangeable. These are AutoZone parts that I got. I can't remember where I got the last set from. Obviously it's a different manufacturer, but these have the ceramic whatever with them, so they're supposed to be longer lasting, less squeak, less brake dust, all that good stuff. So are these. These are the exact same thing, but you know, I paid a little extra for these. They all have the groove in the middle for cooling, and you know, as you can see, these produce a little bit of dust. They're not horrible. Now the brackets, on the other hand, which I was going to go ahead and replace, there's a slight difference. You always want to compare your hardware with your old stuff just to make sure that's going to work, because I have heard it several times where people get a part, and it's not what they needed because for whatever reason, you know, maybe they didn't know the exact specifications between a V6 or a V8, or, you know, certain different variations. You know, maybe there's two different models they came out with one year that a later model had this style, earlier model had this style, whatever the case may be. If you ever have any questions, by all means, ask a certified technician, and they'll be able to help you out. As you can see, these are slightly different than the older hardware because these do not have the little spring clips to push the pad away from the rotor, and they do not have the little clip basically on the outside that I was talking about that actually kind of holds the pad from falling out. Obviously the pad's not going to fall out because the caliper assembly itself will keep it in there, but from what I can tell, everything else looks exactly the same. They're just missing, they just don't have those two little features. I'm going to go ahead and use the new hardware because it's new, and I'll be able to clean it up and make sure that it works good. And if I have any kind of problems, I will definitely hold on to the old stuff if I need to, if I feel I need to swap back to the old style, because this is still completely serviceable as is. I'll just clean it up and lube it before I throw it back on there. Alright, good old brake lubricant. Always keep some of this so I can put some fresh on there. And I wish that YouTube wouldn't whine about music, because Greta Van Fleet is playing right now and I can barely hear it because I'm recording. If I turn it up, YouTube throws a fit. areas are good and lubed, then I will go ahead and slide the new clips. You also want to lube the mating surface where the pads actually sit on the clips themselves. Right in there, right in there, all that good stuff. Now then, it just pops up inside. There we go, just like that. Okay, now always remember, put the curved side towards the curved edge, and then these should just slide right in here. There's that one. Once again, always lube up. Can't use enough lube or too much lube, that's for sure. Anytime, any place that's going to make metal on metal contact, I'd like to make sure that's good. Slide the one in on the back side there. I normally keep these really clean. As you can see, there's a lot of dirt and stuff built up there. Now this is your piston on your caliper, and this part actually slides in and out, so you want to make sure that that's good and clean, because this can cause binding and cause your brakes to hang up. So you want to make sure that that's good and clean and lubed. Take a rag, wipe off the dirt, dust, any kind of excess crud that's on there. And since I'm putting new pads, I'm going to have to press this in. So I got out my handy dandy C-clamp. I'll show you that in a second. Alright, before you go and compress your caliper, it's always a good idea to loosen your brake master cylinder cap. Just so, because what's going to happen, hopefully the wind isn't too loud, what's going to happen is you're going to push the fluid back into the reservoir, and that fluid is going to displace the air in there, so you got to have a place for the air to go. On this charger, it's here underneath this little panel, right from the driver's side. Alright, so for compressing the caliper, you always want to use an old pad, because you don't want to mess up your new ones. Take that, set it on top of the piston, and then you'll take your C-clamp, and basically you're going to put it on there just like that, and then you're going to tighten it up and compress that. Let me get it a little bit closer. There we go. Once again, this is always a good time to have a buddy. Oh, come on, get on there. Okay, now when I compress this, I don't want to go real fast, because once again it's going to force all that fluid back up in your reservoir, and it can cause it to overflow, and you're going to make a big old mess. Brake fluid eats paint, so you want to be careful. Just go nice and slow. Now, is that mandatory to take the lid off? I don't know, but it's something I've always done. I've always heard to do, so I go ahead and do it. And I'm just going to press this all the way in, basically until it stops. Now, some of your newer vehicles, this actually has the thread in. It twists, and they sell special tools for that. Luckily enough for me, this is an older vehicle, so it just presses straight in with hydraulic pressure. Okay. So again, I'm going nice and easy, just using slow turning, and you can see it's compressing down inside. There you go. Don't put a lot of force on it, it'll stop, and then it's done. Okay. Add a little bit of extra lube up here on the mating surface, around the edge of there, just to reduce any kind of squealing. And then same thing. Come on. Right here on this side, where it meets with the other pad. Then your caliper should slide right back on. Another good practice to have when you're doing brakes is to pull out your mounting brackets. And these are just basically a piston or a rod that slides in here, and and this is what your mounting bolts actually thread into. But your whole brake assembly kind of slides back and forth on that. So you want to keep that clean and lubed. Like I said, last time I did these, I put fresh grease on there and the grease was still good. Had some good viscosity to it. It was a little dirty, but it was fine. So there's no rust starting on there, and that's the main thing. You don't have any corrosion on it. Make sure that's in there, and then because that slides back and forth, it can catch the edge of this, so make sure that that's out of the way. When you slide it back over, put your bolt in from the back. Alright, well, she's all back together. Time to go ahead and throw the wheel on there. Man, that makes this job so much easier. I'm still going to have to go around and torque them, but that gets them real close. Alright, well, that's for it for this side. I'm going to go ahead and jump over and do the other side, and I'll take it for a test drive afterwards. Well, that pretty much wraps up this video. The wife took it for a drive, so it runs nice and smooth. Drives down the road great, so hopefully that took care of any kind of problems we had, or any kind of potential preventative maintenance. That's the key. Thank you all for watching the video. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Catch you next time.